Okay, quick announcement for Mr. Williams.
Sunday. Musical Theater Showcase is performing on Sunday at 3 o'clock. It's free here in the chapel. We would love for you to come. It will be about an hour, and they're singing some amazing songs from some amazing shows. So come at 3 p.m. on Sunday. Thank you.
You can be there. Okay, we have 4 sophomore speeches today. That means please pay attention, please be quiet, please be respectful. Even though it may seem redundant to you that 4 of them will be going, it's different for every single one of them because it's their experience, so please be respectful. So, time to welcome our first one, Derek.
Dr. Hannah is a great cross-country coach, so I mean it when I say, sorry for what I'm about to say, Dr. Hannah, but I hate running. I despise everything about it. Every time I run, it feels like my own body is betraying me, gasping for air like I'm drowning, my feet pounding the ground with each step reverberating all the way up my spine. Despite all of this, I ran with the cross-country team last year. I hated every run, and every practice, and every race. I wasn't very good at it either, which only made me hate it more. And most of all, I hated how sore and tired and fatigued I would feel every single day. I would get home every night and crash as soon as I got to bed. And then in the morning, I'd have no energy to wake up because getting up meant that I'd have to do it all over again. And yet somehow, every day at 3 p.m., I'd find myself grabbing my shoes and water bottle and starting that long, miserable trek up to the upper field for practice, as if I had no choice but to walk to my own doom. Walking up to that field every day felt like a punishment for making it all the way through the school day. With each step, the hard concrete floor of the school shifted into the brown dirt by the softball field, which turned into the crosswalk across York Road, and finally into that steep gravel hill past the double gates. I dreaded each and every step, which took me closer and closer to my own doom. It wasn't much better running during practice either. My feet ached, my lungs burned, and my legs felt like they were falling apart with each stride. The only thing that made it bearable was the fun I had with my teammates. Messing around with them made the endless running feel slightly less terrible. Otherwise, it was just about the worst thing I'd ever experienced, and it happened every single day. About halfway through the season, something changed. I actually started to like running. Just kidding, that'll never happen. However, I did start to feel a sharp pain in my hips every time I ran. It got to the point where it felt like someone was driving long, rusted nails into my side with each step. Eventually, Dr. Hannah advised me to stop running for a bit in order to recover, and I was certainly not going to argue with him. As I stopped running for a bit, the weirdest thing happened. I started to miss being out there. Obviously, it wasn't the running that I missed, I'd be insane. But I missed that sense of struggling through it with my friends, finishing a brutal run, collapsing on the ground, exhausted but still somehow laughing. Running had become a part of my routine, probably my least favorite part, but a part nonetheless. As much as I hated the act of running, I started to miss the struggle of it. Eventually, I did start running with the team again, but running didn't feel the same as before. I had to be way more careful about warming up and cooling down, and I couldn't run as hard or as fast as I used to be able to. After the cross-country season ended, I started to get this strangest feeling. I wanted to keep running. Even though I still hated running, something had changed. Maybe it wasn't a newfound love, but I found myself putting on my running shoes even on days when I didn't have to. It was as if running had become a part of my life, whether I wanted it to or not. All of this being said, I want to make it very clear that it is not my intention to discourage anyone from running or trying cross-country. Running is an amazing thing to do. Cross country is an amazing sport. And of course, Dr. Hannah is the best coach and teacher anyone could ask for. I guess what I've realized is that even in something that I hated, such as running, there are still some things worth learning from. Some things more than just running. Thank you.
Derek, I love the humor in your speech, and I love how you learned I also hate running. But okay, for our next sophomore speech, Emily's gonna announce it.
Next up, we have Gianni, so give a big round of
Oh,
applause.
There I was, 9 years old, in the car, on my way to the championship games. There I was, 9 years old, in the car, on my way to the baseball championship game, feeling so nervous I was about to puke. The day before, my baseball team had won the semifinals game to bring us to the championship. It was 7 a.m. and I was feeling as if I could not play. I had never felt nerves this bad before in my life. My 9-year-old self had never played in a tournament championship game before. This was the first time I'd ever played in a club baseball team. I was not used to waking up at the crack of dawn, driving an hour to get there early to warm up, and then playing the game starting at 8 a.m. That season, whenever there was an early morning game, I always felt exhausted and miserable. But today was worse because of the high stakes. It was a championship game that we needed to win. We had arrived at the field, and I walked over to where my team was warming up. They were all energetic and excited to play, unlike me, who felt terribly nauseous and had no energy, like I'd better get back in bed than in the dugout. The other team had arrived. I finally forced myself to start stretching when the other team had arrived. They looked like 7-foot-tall bodybuilders who had been alive for double our lifespan. I finally forced myself. They started to warm up, and I could not get out of my rut. But the game was about to start. I did not feel ready to play this game. All I hoped was the nerves would calm down so I could play to my fullest. But it felt outside of my control. All I could do was hope. With my first at-bat, there were 2 people on base, and if I got a hit, it would score at least 1 run. I took a deep breath to clear my head, but no. I grounded out to the shortstop for an easy out to end the inning. I could not stop thinking about that at-bat and how we would be winning. If I continued thinking about this, I would just get in my head and play badly for the entire rest of the game. Sure enough, I only got 1 hit and made a few errors out in the field. After the game, we went home, and I was feeling pretty down on myself. These feelings continued for the next few days until my parents decided to come and talk to me. They told me that it did not help too much to focus on things that you cannot change, and that there are benefits to experiencing failure. You could take the memory of that loss and use it as internal motivation to take control of your performance. You could learn ways to shake off the nerves to stay focused. This piece of advice has stayed with me all my life, and it was really helpful to my 9-year-old brain to figure out that I could be in control. In the next game, I tried thinking positively and focused on it's just one game. This relaxed me and helped me play much better. With my first at-bat, plenty of things could have gotten in my head. The skies were cloudy, the wind was blowing sand in my eyes, the pitcher was bigger than my coach. But it didn't bother me. Instead, I focused on getting in my stance. I stopped overthinking and just tried to hit the ball as far as possible. In the next game, I continued focusing on important things like my stance, instead of the weather or the other dugout chanting at me. It worked. I hit a game-winning RBI double. The difference between these two tournaments and how I felt really made an impression on me. I learned how to think in a way that increases my confidence rather than depleting it. Today, I know what thoughts to let in before a game. I know what type of thoughts are harmful versus helpful. I still get a bit of a nervous stomach before big games, but now I can acknowledge the nerves and move past them, rather than letting them take me over. Thank you.
That was a really good speech, Gianni, about being able to figure yourself out in the end and understand yourself and know what helps you and what doesn't help you. And I think a good lesson we can learn from that is it's all about, well, Winnie doesn't know I say this all the time, it's all about your mindset. And it's all about how you decide to look at life and how you decide to cope with things that are thrown at you. I faced a 6-foot blonde girl, I'm like, oh my God. But it's better to be like, I can drop her because she's so tall rather than freak out. So thank you for that. I really loved your speech.
Next up, last but not least, we have Daniel.
As I stood at the base of the ascent, the cables loomed overhead, staring down at me with beady eyes. I felt like the ground was shaking, as if there was a giant beneath me. Sheer 800-foot drops on either side, a fall to certain death. My thoughts began to cloud my emotions. Should I press forward, being able to accomplish a feat that many people dream of achieving, or fall to a certain death? Could I bear the weight of disappointing my father after over 3 days and 30 miles of arduous trekking through the Yosemite backcountry? These are the questions that surrounded me as I faced the daunting 400-foot, 45-degree climb of slick granite rock all the way to the top of one of the most iconic landmarks, the infamous Half Dome. Let's rewind to the moment I first learned I'd have the opportunity to climb the cables of Half Dome. During the summer between 6th and 7th grade, one of my father's friends approached him with an idea: a 5-day, 30-mile backpacking trip through the Yosemite backcountry with the opportunity to climb the cables of Half Dome. Without hesitation, my father said, "Of course. I mean, who could resist such an opportunity?" I, of course, also agreed, unaware of the challenges that would face me in the future. So, with that, weeks passed, and I began preparing my pack and getting ready for the very, very long 4-hour drive all the way to Tuolumne Meadows Ranger Station in Yosemite National Park. Upon arriving at the ranger station, I was quite amazed by the beauty of the Yosemite backcountry. Previously, I had only been to the Yosemite Valley, so this was somewhat of a new experience. The following day, we set off to Vogelsang High Sierra Camp. It was going to be a very long 7-mile trek all the way up to the valley, all the way up to Vogelsang Pass at 10,000 feet where the camp was located. The hike was very straightforward and somewhat uneventful, and so we were about a mile away from camp. At this point, we reached something none of us anticipated: mosquitoes. Thousands of them swarmed our heads, constantly biting us and driving us to the edge of sanity. As soon as we reached camp, we wasted no time or hesitation in setting up our tents, making dinner, before calling it a night. Over the next few days, we managed to hike over 20 more miles through canyons, rivers, and valleys, before making it to our final destination, Little Yosemite Valley. By this point, exhaustion and frustration had set in from the constant swarm of mosquitoes, so I was quite relieved to find far fewer of them in the valley. Just like before, we set up our tent and called it a night. The next day, I woke up feeling prepared and refreshed for the long day ahead. So I packed my gear and began with a 2-mile trek all the way up to the base of the cables. This hike also went very smoothly, with us only checking in about a third of the way up with the ranger to make sure our passes were in check. Next thing I knew it, I was at the base of the cables. As I stood at the base of the ascent, the cables loomed overhead, staring down at me with beady eyes. I felt like the ground was shaking, as if there was a giant beneath me. Sheer 800-foot drops on either side, a fall to certain death. My thoughts began to cloud my emotions. Should I press forward, being able to accomplish a feat that many people dream of achieving, or fall to a certain death? Could I bear the weight of disappointing my father after over 3 days and 30 miles of arduous trekking? I mean, obviously I knew he would be disappointed, but it sure felt that way. At this point, my father had noticed that I was quite nervous and wasn't ready for this. So he took me by the shoulder and said, "Just take it one step at a time." So that's what I did. I put my safety gear on, clipped into the wires, and started the climb all the way up, the 400-foot, 45-degree climb. Next thing I knew, I was already a third of the way up, and I thought to myself, hey, this isn't that bad. So I kept on trekking, and after 20 more minutes of climbing and passing people going down, which proved to be quite an experience, I did it. I made it to the top of Half Dome. Over the next hour, my dad and I looked at the views, took way too many photos, and just enjoyed it. After about an hour, we prepared for the descent, which also proved to be quite straightforward. Next thing I knew, after 2 miles, I made it back to the base camp. The next day, we took the hike out, concluding our journey with a 4-hour drive home. This experience has taught me many things about myself and life in general. It has taught me determination and to never allow my fears control my actions. Rather than letting my fears control my actions, I press forward, being able to take advantage of an opportunity, being able to take advantage of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Thank you.
I'm sensing a trend with you four. I want to tell you guys we're all going to show how you persevere through something, especially you, Danny, not letting your dad down. I'm just kidding, sorry, that didn't come off as humor. No, I liked your speech and how you were able to go into full detail in the beginning all the way through the end. I loved all your guys' speeches, it was great, I'm sure everybody else loved. Did you guys all love their speeches today? It's something to do with gratitude, correct? Okay, go out. Go outside. No. Okay, someone else take the mic.
Thanks, Alexa, and thanks to the sophomore speechers today. I think we all recognize what a challenge this is, and they did it today with perfection, so congratulations. I also want to give a special thanks to Mr. R, who has taken over this project with absolute grace and expertise, and really has brought I think, raised the level of the sophomore speech program over the years that he's done it. So thank you very much. As we plow into the second quarter and with Thanksgiving coming up, we'd like to consider the people and things in our lives for which we're grateful. So not only is expressing gratitude important for relationships and connecting to others and the world, but there's actually research that shows that expressing gratitude makes people happier and healthier. So grateful people get sick less. They have healthier hearts, they exercise more, they get better sleep, they find greater joy in life. There was an experiment. 300 people were given journals and divided into 3 groups and had to write daily things in their journals. A, daily list of things they were grateful for. B, daily list of things that annoyed them. And C, write list of anything they wanted. The people who wrote about things they were grateful for had a much higher level of well-being than the other 2 groups. So the simple act of writing down things they were grateful for seemed to kickstart their brain. So in a little bit, we're going to go out to the Commons and we're going to do some gratitude writing. And Mrs. Danishenko is going to talk about that. But as we've done the past couple of years, we'd like to invite some faculty up to express their gratitude for some things. So we have a few volunteers. So if you volunteered to express some gratitude, if you could come on up, that would be great.
I want to go first. I don't want to mess it up, so I wrote it down. Before I read what I prepared, I just want to express some gratitude for Mr. Johnson, fellow Minnesotan. I always hear students students expressing gratitude for you behind your back. And I don't know how often they tell you to your face that you're like the sweetest, kindest person on campus. So I just want to send a shout out to you. As you all know, I have to express some gratitude for some students. And so here we go. So I've always been in awe of York's international students. The courage, the strength, and the sacrifices that you and your families make so that you can learn here does not go unnoticed. You all motivate me to be a better educator. You all motivate me to be elastic in my thinking. You all motivate me to try new things. Your grit and your determination have inspired me countless times. Please know that your unique perspectives enrich every single classroom you enter. And lastly, know that I'm truly grateful that you are all here.
Okay, I'm grateful for a lot of things, for my family, for the fact that water has a dipole moment, making it a polar molecule, and so ice is less dense than liquid water. I'm grateful for my health, but when thinking about this, I think what really strikes me right now is I am grateful for kindness. I picked my favorite definition. It's being generous, helpful, and caring for other people. And I'm grateful that I see kindness all the time on this campus. When I'm walking across campus and carrying something and students will stop and say, "Can I help you with that?" When I see students helping other students in various ways, I think right now in a world where there is so much discord and fighting, practicing kindness and being a kind person is something that is truly valuable, and I'm grateful to be in this community where kindness is celebrated and appreciated, where a lot of other places kindness can sometimes be seen as a weakness. So I'm glad that we celebrate kindness and that people here are kind. One example was when I went on last year's Costa Rica trip and we were working on a woman's farm clearing the brush, which was no benefit to any of the students that were helping clearing that brush, but the fact that they worked so hard, it actually drove me to tears seeing them work so hard, because they were being kind. They were thinking of this woman. She was a single woman, her husband had passed, and they were showing kindness by helping her out on her farm. So yeah, this year I'm grateful for kindness, and one thing I wanted you guys to think about when you go through your everyday life is, how was I kind today? What kindness did I show today?
First, I'm grateful for Derek explaining exactly what cross country is like. That's the reason a lot of us love it, maybe except for the rusty nail in the head. Last year, I stood here for a gratitude forum and shared a poem by Mary Oliver in recognition of my dog Kieran, who had passed away just a few weeks prior. Just before midnight on October 24th, 2023. Today I'm here to once again honor her and to express gratitude for furry friends and to the people that bring them into our lives. Kieran was different in so many ways from other dogs. She was very shy, unsure of herself, and it wasn't until I started to meet her on her level that she started to trust me. She needed her time and space to get there. She was like that with everyone. And no matter what, she always looked like she was smiling. She defied logic with her strength, recovering from 2 knee surgeries at age 3. only to eventually lose function of both of her back legs by the time she was 13. Even then, she was smiling. She proved to me that courage and confidence built on the foundation of trust. She loved her people as much as we loved her. The cliche, time heals all wounds, is messy because there's always a scar left behind to remind you of the grief and the heartbreak. That scar is also a memory of 13 years of snuggling, hiking, park days and beach days, every kind of burr imaginable, derpy moments and everything in between. It's taken me time and space to gather these thoughts. I've been finding many distractions to lead my mind elsewhere. Usually in tough situations like these, I turn to salvation in words, art, music. But what has helped me the most? Other dogs like Kieran, knowingly or unknowingly, what they give me. Baloo and Mowgli, Max, Merlin, Molly, Maya, Maisie, and Meadow, Charlie, Ticket, and Ryder, Pepper, and of course, Sweet Poppy, who reminds me so much of Kid. I'm grateful to those dogs and to their owners who pause to let me scratch their ears, pat them on the head, and shower them with adoration. Though you may not have known it, thank you for helping me heal.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm not really sure how to follow that. That was beautiful, as were all of the gratitude speeches. So I'm just going to segue with not a poem by Mary Oliver, just a quote by her. Joy is not made to be a crumb. A line from a poem called Don't Hesitate. It feels especially fitting today as we think about the gratitude and love we have in our lives. Let's not hesitate to find and embrace joy in the small things. Joy is meant to be shared and fully experienced. So with that in mind, I'd like to share a poem that I wrote, not Mary Oliver, called Gratitude in a Bowl. It's for my mom. Dear Mom, I love you. I miss you. Today, I find gratitude in the simplest things. The handwritten tomato soup recipe you left me. Your legacy folded into paper soft creases, marked with the faint smear of tomato sauce. A testament to the warmth you gave. Your soup was never just soup, but an invitation, a call to gather, a way to say, you belong here. You taught me the smallest acts. Peeling tomatoes, they still can't do that well. Stirring with care, adding a sprig of dill in the last moment, could hold the world together. I'm grateful for those small moments. The rhythm of your hands working, the quiet, steady love you poured into meals. The table was never empty with you around. Each bowl a gesture of giving. Now I try to carry that forward. Mateo loves soup, though none taste quite the same. I'm learning patience, Mom. We've made your minestrone soup 3 times now, the way you would, almost. But I'm thankful for the trying, for the time, for the chance to honor you, spoon by spoon. There is always a bowl for you at my table, fresh bread, unsalted butter, and yes, at room temperature, your favorite spoon. I'm grateful for your presence in every meal I make, for the comfort of your recipe, for the legacy of love you left in each simple thing. I miss you, Mom. I love you, and I'm thankful. I just wanted to close to honor Indigenous Peoples Month and just offer a blessing appropriated from a Navajo poet, Luchi Tapahonso. May each of us remember to share our stories with one another, because it is only through our stories that we live full lives. May the words we speak go forth as bright beads of comfort, joy, humor, and inspiration. May we realize that our actions affect all people and the earth. May we live in the way of beauty and help others in need. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone who shared what they're grateful for. So it is November, and it is a really busy time of the year, and it can be really easy to get caught up and swept up in, I have to do my sophomore speech, midterms are coming up, I'm not feeling very well. But as you can see by what your teachers demonstrated and by what Mr. Zeljo talked about, the true impact of what gratitude has and the difference that it can make on your mental health, but also on your physical health. So we thought it would be really important to build in some time for you all to take some time to practice gratitude today. So out in the Commons, there are 2 activities for you to complete. The first is a table with some paper leaves for you all to grab a leaf and a marker to write down something that you are grateful for. And in the past, I think we've hung them in trees, but this year we're going to use them to make wreaths to decorate campus for when your grandparents come on Tuesday. The other activity, Ms. Traxel has agreed to help teach everybody how to make paper cranes. So that will be another activity in the Commons to just let you slow down, to think about what you're grateful for while you're making those very intricate folds. And we will also use those to decorate campus on Tuesday. So we're going to do that. Please make sure that you're doing both of those activities. This is a time for us to spend together, talking with each other. There is an expectation that everybody is in the Commons with each other and that you are participating. Did I forget anything?